Chosen ones. It didn't happen with celebration. No trumpets, no applause, no lights announcing your return. The world didn't even notice at first. That's how every reign begins. Quietly, beneath the noise, in places too sacred for witnesses. You weren't crowned in a palace. You were crowned in a fire. While others were chasing validation, you were being purified. While they wanted titles, you were being tested. Because chosen ones are never handed their thrones, they're forged into them. The flames didn't come to destroy you. They came to refine you. And that's what people never understand about your rise. It wasn't luck. It was labor. Spiritual labor. The kind that breaks bones but builds souls. You remember those nights, don't you? The ones where silence felt like a scream. The days when your own reflection looked like a stranger. The moments when you begged heaven for direction and heard nothing but your heartbeat echoing back. But that was the training. The silence wasn't absence. It was initiation. The universe was stripping away everything that couldn't survive your next level. They thought your stillness was defeat, but it was strategy. They thought you were waiting for help, but you were waiting for power. And now it's here. Not power that shouts or claws, but the kind that hums, low and steady, beneath your skin. The kind that makes the air shift when you walk in. The kind that makes people nervous without knowing why. You've changed frequencies again. You're not speaking from wounds anymore. You're speaking from wisdom. The pain that once cracked you open has become the throne you now sit on. That's why they don't recognize you. They keep looking for the version of you they could manipulate, the one that needed to be chosen. They don't realize you've remembered you were chosen before they even existed. This is the ascension phase. Not spiritual escape, embodied sovereignty. You're no longer asking life to get easier. You're demanding yourself to get stronger. You're no longer praying for doors to open. You're building your own gates. You're no longer looking for signs. You've become one. Look around. Everything that left you wasn't loss. It was clearance. Everything that stayed is loyalty made visible. Everything arriving now is destiny catching up to your vibration. You used to think God delayed your blessings. Now you realize he was delaying your distractions. Because now the world doesn't get access to you. It earns audience with you. You are no longer in rooms where you must prove your worth. You are in realms where your energy is the invitation. And the irony? The same people who doubted your rise are now asking for your advice. The same mouths that cursed you are now mimicking your language. The same eyes that rolled at your dreams are now watching in disbelief as they unfold exactly as you said they would. That's what ascension does. It reverses gravity. It pulls respect from the same soil where ridicule once grew. It makes mockery mature into apology. But here's the secret to this new level. Don't celebrate too loud. Not because your victory isn't worth shouting about, but because true kings and queens don't need announcements. Your peace is your press release. Your stability is your status update. Your growth is your proof. You don't respond to envy anymore. You let it educate them. You don't react to rumors. You let results correct them. You don't beg for understanding. You move in purpose until confusion turns to clarity. You've stepped beyond reaction. You've entered regulation. Your energy is currency now. Every glance, every word, every silence, it carries cost. You've stopped spending recklessly. You're investing intentionally, and that's the real start of reign. Not when people praise you, but when you stop needing them to. This is the shift where divine timing becomes divine territory. You've claimed your space, not by shouting mine, but by becoming irreplaceable within it. You've turned pressure into posture, heartbreak into hierarchy, doubt into discipline. You didn't wait to be chosen. You chose yourself. That's the true mark of the chosen one, because chosen doesn't mean favored. It means responsible. It means you've been entrusted with fire and expected to build warmth, not war. It means you've been given storms and expected to grow gardens through them. It means the weight you carry is not punishment. It's proof you can handle gravity. And now the world will start noticing. Slowly at first. The whispers will come before the headlines. The glances before the greetings. People will start moving differently around you, not out of fear, but out of reverence. They'll feel it before they understand it. The air will get quieter when you enter rooms. The energy will adjust when you speak. The old world will resist. But destiny doesn't need permission to proceed. You're not here to fit in. You're here to reign. And reign isn't about ruling others. It's about mastering yourself so completely that chaos bows before your calm. From this point forward, nothing will feel the same, because you aren't the same. You've crossed thresholds most people can't even see. You've mastered silence, survived solitude, and found strength in surrender. That's why your crown fits now. It was too heavy for your old self. This is the beginning of everything they said you'd never reach. The reign doesn't start with noise. It starts with knowing, and you. You finally know who you are. The chosen one doesn't rise when the world notices them. The chosen one rises when they notice themselves. It begins quietly, like a ripple under glass. No fanfare, no sudden explosion of fame or fortune. Just subtle changes, the kind that make people pause mid-sentence, tilt their heads, and look twice. Something in the air around you has altered, and though they can't describe it, they feel it. You were invisible once. Not because you lacked value, but because your light was dimmed for your own protection. Now that the purification is complete, that light isn't just visible, it's magnetic. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it. They don't even know why they're drawn to you. They call it presence, aura, energy, charisma, but you know what it really is, alignment. You are synced now with yourself, with your purpose, with the divine rhythm that guides creation itself. That harmony radiates from you like sunlight, and sunlight doesn't apologize for where it shines. Every conversation feels different now. People who used to dominate the room suddenly soften when you speak. Those who once ignored you now lean forward when your voice enters the air. You're not louder, you're lighter, and that weightlessness makes gravity bend. They sense it, the shift, the way time seems to slow when you're present, the way conflict loses its edge around you. The way chaos quiets like a storm meeting its center. It's not intimidation, it's authority. And authority doesn't beg to be heard. It simply is. You see it in their eyes. The same ones that once looked through you now look to you. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped asking for their vision to validate yours. This is the paradox of ascension. When you stop needing recognition, it arrives uninvited. The whispers begin next. They talk about you when you're not there. Not with malice this time, but with curiosity. How did they do it? Why do they look so different? What happened to them? They're not gossiping, they're trying to solve a mystery. Because deep down, they know what you've become can't be explained by logic alone. You carry too much stillness for someone who's seen war. Too much softness for someone who's been betrayed. Too much peace for someone who's faced chaos. That contradiction makes people stare. They used to call it weakness. Now they call it wisdom. They used to mock your boundaries. Now they call them standards. They used to exploit your kindness. Now they call it leadership. That's the beauty of elevation. It rewrites definitions. What once looked like loss becomes legacy. What once looked like silence becomes strategy. What once looked like humility becomes hidden power. Even the ones who tried to sabotage you are confused. They thought they'd buried you under rumors, obstacles, and lies. But you turned soil into strategy and used their dirt as fertilizer for your destiny. Now they're watching what they planted grow back toward them as consequence. You don't have to seek revenge. The harvest handles that. And as you rise, something strange happens. Your old triggers lose their pull. The names, the places, the memories that once ignited anger now dissolve into neutrality. You don't hate them. You don't even think of them. They're just chapters you've outgrown, stories you no longer tell yourself. You've learned to bless what broke you, because it built you. Every scar became scripture. Every betrayal became blueprint. Every ending became entrance. And now the world is witnessing resurrection without ritual. You didn't announce your comeback. They felt it. They can't explain it, but they can't deny it either. They sense that you're not just living, you're reigning. The difference is subtle but seismic. Living means surviving circumstances. Reigning means shaping them. You're no longer reacting, you're writing. You see, most people live like pawns in their own story, waiting for fate to make its next move. But not you. You became the author. You stopped waiting for permission and started issuing declarations, and the universe responded. Because creation listens when conviction speaks. Now everywhere you go, energy rearranges itself. The wrong people suddenly feel uncomfortable in your presence. The right people appear effortlessly, aligned like constellations forming overhead. Doors open without knocking. Conversations shift without planning. You don't chase synchronicity anymore, you embody it, and that embodiment scares those who refuse to evolve. They feel exposed near you, as if your peace highlights their chaos. Either way, you win, because you no longer measure success by applause, you measure it by alignment. If it costs your peace, it's too expensive. If it distorts your energy, it's not destiny. That's how the world begins to notice you, not because you're louder, but because you're cleaner. Your energy is unpolluted. Your intentions are pure. Your vibration is high enough to make deception suffocate in your presence. People start confessing things to you they never planned to share. They sense safety in your silence, wisdom in your eyes. You've become a walking truth serum, pulling honesty out of others simply by existing. That's what happens when the chosen one ascends. Their aura becomes medicine. Not because they try to heal others, but because they healed themselves. And this is only the beginning. The whispers will become waves. The small acknowledgements will become invitations. The same world that once overlooked you will start orbiting you, not because they understand what you are, but because they recognize what they need. And what they need is the frequency you've mastered. Presence without pressure, strength without struggle, love without limit. Your reign won't look like control. It will look like calm. It will feel like inevitability, because that's what you are now, inevitable. Every system, every soul, every space that aligns with truth will find you. Every lie, every parasite, every projection will fall away. That's not magic, that's mathematics. Energy obeys order, so let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them misinterpret. You've entered a chapter that no longer requires explanation. The world is noticing what heaven already declared. And those who once doubted you are witnessing their own words dissolve into awe. The reign has begun. And this time, the throne doesn't need defending, because the kingdom isn't around you, it's within you. And when the world finally realizes that, it won't just notice you. It will start following you. Power doesn't return with noise. It returns with knowing. The world expects thunder when strength reappears. But the real ones, the chosen ones, reclaim power in silence. Not because they're weak, but because they've learned that true control is calm. You feel it now. The shift, the gravity in your chest, the clarity behind your eyes. It's not arrogance, it's accuracy. You've aligned with something ancient, something primal, something eternal. This isn't the kind of power people chase. It's not bought, borrowed, or performed. It's the kind of power that remembers itself. It lives in your posture now, in the way you walk without hurry, in the way your words no longer rush to convince. You don't chase outcomes. You create openings. You don't beg for energy. You attract resonance. You don't try to fit in. You make space for others to expand. That's the new frequency, the vibration of sovereign calm. Because when a chosen one truly ascends, their strength no longer looks like resistance. It looks like rhythm. Every decision, every move, every breath feels choreographed by something larger. The flow that used to feel accidental now feels intentional. You realize that nothing is random anymore. Even silence feels like strategy, and that's what power really is, conscious participation in divine precision. You've seen what happens when people misuse power. They become loud, paranoid, addicted to validation. They build towers of control because they don't trust gravity. But you learned from the fire. You know power isn't to be flaunted. It's to be focused. When you were broken, you thought survival was the goal. Now that you're whole, you understand survival was just rehearsal. The real purpose was refinement. You were never meant to just live. You were meant to lead. And leadership isn't a title. It's an energy field that rearranges reality around it. That's why opportunities keep finding you now. Emails arrive before you plan the project. People call with ideas you were already considering. Doors open without knocking. It's not luck, it's synchronization. You've become a living algorithm of divine timing. The difference between then and now? Before you were trying to force outcomes. Now outcomes form around you because you're no longer aligned with effort. You're aligned with essence, and essence doesn't chase. It attracts. That's what frightens people who still operate from fear. They can't understand how you move so effortlessly. They think it's manipulation. It's not. It's magnetism. When you walk in truth, truth walks before you. When you operate from peace, peace clears paths you can't even see. When you carry faith instead of fear, every obstacle becomes architecture for expansion. Your energy is no longer reactive. It's directive. You command the room not by speaking, but by being. You influence outcomes without needing to intervene. You move through life like a current that bends everything toward clarity. And here's what's wild. This isn't supernatural. It's structural. This is how reality was always meant to respond to those who remember who they are. Fear clouds the signal. Doubt distorts the code. But faith restores the original frequency. You've remembered it now, the divine pattern hidden inside every chosen one. Power doesn't come from control. It comes from coherence. That's why things that used to drain you now dissolve before they touch you. Why people who used to provoke you can't reach your frequency. Why challenges that used to shake you now submit to your stillness. The world calls it mystery. You call it maintenance. You've learned to tend to your vibration like a temple. You rise before the noise. You breathe before you speak. You center before you decide. You've turned your life into a ceremony of order, and the universe recognizes order. That's why abundance has begun flowing again. Not just money or success, but opportunities, ideas, collaborations, synchronicities. Because the moment you mastered yourself, you became a safe vessel for power to return. You used to ask, why is nothing working? Now the universe asks, what else would you like me to align? That's the difference between needing and knowing, between trying and trusting, between hoping and harnessing. And your enemies, they feel it too. They won't admit it, but they sense the current has changed direction. They used to drain you. Now they can't even reach you. They used to compete. Now they copy. They used to gossip. Now they observe, because deep down they understand what's happening. Power is rebalancing. You took back every fragment you ever gave away. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you tolerated disrespect for peace. Every time you dimmed your light to make others comfortable. You're reclaiming those moments like lost kingdoms. Each boundary rebuilt is a territory restored. Each no spoken clearly is a flag planted in sovereignty. Each silence held with dignity is a crown reforged. And now the power that once leaked through fear is flowing freely again. Not as rage, but as radiance. Not as control, but as command. Not as pride, but as presence. That's what true return looks like. You didn't fight for the throne, you magnetized it. You didn't demand respect, you became undeniable. You didn't beg for loyalty, you embodied leadership. The reign has matured. You don't just influence lives, you shift atmospheres. Your very existence recalibrates others. They walk away from conversations with you thinking differently, feeling lighter, dreaming again. Because your energy teaches without speaking. That's the gift of reclaimed power. It educates by example. You don't need followers. You create frequencies. You don't need applause. You generate awakening. You don't need validation. You emanate truth. And truth is the highest currency in existence. Now every day feels like prophecy fulfilled. Not because life is perfect, but because your perception is. You no longer see setbacks, you see symmetry. No longer see enemies, you see mirrors. No longer see chaos, you see choreography. This is the apex of mastery, when even opposition serves your mission. The power that returned to you isn't separate from you. It is you. The voice that once whispered doubt now declares destiny. The fire that once burned you now fuels you. The silence that once scared you now protects you. And as the world continues to shift, one truth stands immovable. You were never waiting for your power to return. It was waiting for you to remember. And now that you have, the universe kneels. Power untested is power borrowed. And the universe never allows borrowed energy to last. It must be earned, proven, and refined through trial. That's why even in your reign, storms return, not to destroy you this time, but to validate you. You feel it already. The air is different again. The peace that once surrounded you begins to ripple, not from within, but from without. Old energies sense that you're not easily shaken anymore, and they start sending new kinds of challenges. Not attacks, auditions, because when a chosen one ascends, even the chaos seeks permission to approach. The test never comes from where you expect it. It rarely looks like war. It looks like distraction dressed as opportunity. It sounds like compliments with hidden contracts. It feels like nostalgia tugging at your healed scars, whispering, "Remember who you were." But you smile now, don't you? Because you recognize it. You've seen this pattern before. You know that everything sent to test you is also sent to teach you. The throne isn't about sitting higher, it's about seeing further. And now that your sight has expanded, you understand that every person, every event, every delay is either refinement or reward. Still, the test arrives. It always does. The universe whispers, "You've proven you can rise." Can you now rule? It's one thing to fight for peace. It's another to maintain it when power is yours. People who reflect your old shadows, just to see if they can still pull you back into them. The same manipulation that once worked returns wearing a different mask. The same temptation to prove your worth appears disguised as praise. The same insecurities you thought you buried rise again, not to weaken you, but to remind you how far you've come. The throne doesn't protect you from tests. It attracts them, because now your lessons teach nations. Your restraint becomes blueprint. Your boundaries become scripture. You used to ask, "Why me?" Now you whisper, "Of course me," because you understand the assignment. The test isn't punishment, it's measurement. The universe checks if your energy still bends under pressure, if your ego can survive applause, if your vision can stay clear in fog. And so, the challenges return. But this time they don't hurt. They reveal. You notice how your reactions have changed. Where once you defend, now you discern. Where once you'd chase answers, now you observe outcomes. Where once you'd lose sleep, now you rest, knowing alignment doesn't require anxiety. The throne has given you altitude, and altitude changes everything. Up here you see motives like maps, patterns like constellations, outcomes before they unfold. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. The kind that only comes after endurance. And from this height you realize something else. Your enemies were never really enemies. They were examiners, sent to test your patience, your discernment, your discipline. And once you passed, they lost access. That's why they're silent now. Not because they've changed, but because you have. They can't reach what they no longer resonate with. But make no mistake, this new phase will test you in subtler ways. Not through chaos, but through comfort. Not through rejection, but through recognition. Because sometimes the real challenge isn't being underestimated, it's being celebrated. Can you stay grounded when they finally see you? Can you hold humility when they finally honor you? Can you keep compassion when the world starts kneeling? Those are the real tests of a ruler. Anyone can stay pure in pain. But it takes mastery to stay pure in power, because pain humbles you, power tempts you. Pain breaks ego, power feeds it, and the universe watches to see which side of yourself will win, so it sends you reminders disguised as setbacks, small frustrations that poke your patience, tiny misunderstandings that tug at your pride, moments that ask, will you choose peace or prove a point? And each time your answer shapes your crown, because the throne isn't a reward, it's a responsibility. Every emotion you master becomes protection for those who'll one day follow your path. Every ego you silence becomes a bridge for someone else's healing. Every time you choose grace over control, you expand your kingdom's reach. You've learned that leadership isn't about control. It's about calibration. It's not about making people smaller. It's about helping them remember their own light. That's why you no longer react when others imitate you. You understand they're not copying, they're awakening. You've become the template. That's what real power does. It duplicates wisdom, not wounds. The old version of you would have seen competition. The crowned version of you sees collaboration. Because true royalty doesn't fear being replaced. It builds successors. And now, as you stand in this new frequency, you feel it again. That same hum that filled the air the night your transformation began. The vibration of recognition, the pulse of purpose, the awareness that you're not just surviving tests, you're passing initiations. This is divine governance. You no longer need validation to know you're chosen. You no longer need to prove your worth, you embody it. You no longer chase balance, you are balance, and when you realize that, the final part of the test appears, not as an obstacle, but as opportunity. The universe places someone before you, a mirror, a challenge, or a choice. They may offend you, misunderstand you, or try to drain you. The old you would have reacted. The new you just smiles, bows slightly, and blesses them. Because even in confrontation, your energy stays sovereign. Because even in misunderstanding, your tone stays gentle. Because even in temptation, your soul stays loyal to the light. That's when the universe nods. That's when the test ends. That's when the throne is no longer rented. It's rightfully yours. You didn't win through dominance. You ruled through discipline. You didn't ascend by crushing others. You ascended by controlling yourself. And that, the universe decides, is the mark of one who can reign eternally. The fire has proven its student. The crown no longer wavers. The chosen one has been certified by silence, by struggle, by grace. The throne isn't just beneath you now, it's within you. And from this point forward, even tests will serve you. Because power no longer needs to prove itself. It simply is. At first, you thought your transformation was just about you. Your healing, your peace, your alignment, your rise. But ascension was never meant to be solitary. The universe doesn't evolve individuals. It evolves ecosystems through individuals. You were the seed, not the tree. And now, what once felt like an internal awakening has begun radiating outward, bending reality around you. Everywhere you go, the atmosphere adjusts. It's subtle at first. Meetings run smoother, conversations shift, people breathe easier. Then it becomes undeniable. Rooms brighten. Arguments dissolve. Clarity replaces confusion. It's as if your energy rewires the spaces you walk through. That's the hallmark of a true sovereign. Presence that transforms. You're not forcing anything. You're not preaching or persuading. You're simply being. And your being is instruction enough. People don't always understand what's happening to them when they're around you. They just feel lighter, more hopeful, more honest, more themselves. That's because your field is clean. You've purged fear from your system, and nature abhors a vacuum. So now everywhere you go, that empty space fills with truth. Your peace has become contagious. That's how kingdoms expand, not through conquest, but through coherence. Not by forcing submission, but by awakening resonance. The chosen one doesn't dominate. They recalibrate, and now everything in your orbit is syncing with your vibration. Your words carry weight, even when they're few. Your silence teaches louder than speeches. Your integrity speaks in frequencies that only truth can translate. And slowly, the world begins to change. People start mirroring your posture. They begin valuing peace over performance. They start recognizing energy as currency. They start making decisions based on alignment instead of approval. They're not copying you. They're remembering themselves through you. This is divine influence. The expansion of the kingdom isn't about land, money, or numbers. It's about consciousness. Every healed soul you encounter becomes another throne lit in the network of light that's forming across the planet. You can feel it now, can't you? How collective the energy has become. You're no longer the only one waking up. Others are remembering too, and some of them were activated just by witnessing you survive. That's how chosen energy works. It doesn't preach, it permeates. The same people who once resisted you now find comfort in your calm. They start asking questions they never dared ask before. Not about you, but about themselves. You've turned curiosity into courage, and that's the ripple effect of a sovereign soul. Every choice you make becomes permission for someone else to rise. Every standard you hold becomes a mirror reflecting possibility. Every time you say no to what drains you, someone watching learns to do the same. That's how revolutions start, quietly. Through example, the kingdom is expanding because your energy has become infrastructure. You no longer build with hands. You build with vibration. You don't need followers. You generate frequency. You don't need to lead by force. You lead by flow, and those who enter your field can feel the shift immediately. Their nervous systems calm, their thoughts organize, their intuition sharpens. Because coherence is healing, the old world was built on control. Your kingdom runs on consciousness, and as it spreads, the systems that thrived on chaos begin to crumble. You'll notice it happening. The liars exposing themselves, the manipulators losing influence, the greedy drowning in their own excess. You don't even need to intervene. Your existence itself destabilizes deception, because light doesn't fight darkness. It reveals it, and your light is everywhere now. You can feel the reach. Strangers you've never met start sending gratitude. People you've never spoken to start quoting your wisdom. Energy you once poured into survival now sustains communities. You're becoming less a person and more a principle. That's why the universe calls you chosen. Not because you're above others, but because you were willing to go first, to burn first, to rise first, to heal first. You opened the door others were too afraid to touch. And now they walk through it freely, unaware that it was your scars that built the path. That's legacy. Not being remembered by name, but by resonance. When your vibration becomes a bridge between the broken and the whole. Still, expansion comes with its own test, sustainability. Because now, more than ever, the world will pull at you. More people, more noise, more demand. You'll be tempted to pour faster than you replenish, but remember, the kingdom doesn't grow through exhaustion. It grows through overflow. You can't lead if you leak. You can't heal if you hurry. You can't channel light if you forget to stand in it yourself. So protect your energy like treat as responsibility. Refuel as commandment, because the kingdom doesn't expand from burnout, it expands from balance. And when you honor that balance, your reach multiplies. Not through effort, but through essence. You become like gravity, silent but undeniable, gentle but unrelenting. Even those who once resisted your growth now orbit you out of instinct. They call it fate. You call it frequency. Your influence no longer requires introduction. Your presence is preface enough. And here's the final revelation of this stage. The kingdom you're building doesn't belong to you. It moves through you. You are not the owner, you're the outlet. Not the source, you're the steward. The light expands because you stop trying to contain it. You let it flow through everything you touch. You became the proof that heaven doesn't live above, it lives within. And through you, it's being built here now, in every heart that remembers itself through your radiance. So let the expansion continue. Let it reach cities, hearts, and generations you'll never meet. Let it stretch across timelines and bloodlines, because this is the chosen one's reward. Not the crown you wear, but the consciousness you spread. The kingdom has expanded, and it will keep expanding. Because you've become what fear never wanted you to realize, a living portal of divine order. And from this point forward, the world will never be the same again. There comes a stillness that even victory cannot describe. It arrives quietly, without fireworks or applause, after the dust has settled and every echo of battle has faded into memory. You stand there, not as conqueror or survivor, but as something beyond both, as continuity itself. This is the eternal reign. It isn't about ruling forever. It's about remaining true forever. It's the state where nothing outside you can unseat what's inside you. For years you fought to arrive here, through doubt, through darkness, through divine fire, and now you realize there was never anywhere else to go. The journey wasn't toward a throne, it was toward awareness. The kingdom was always consciousness, and you were its center all along. Now the world feels slower, Not because it changed pace, but because you changed perception. Time no longer rushes you. It consults you. Decisions no longer overwhelm you. They orbit you. Even endings look like beginnings seen from another altitude. This peace is not fragile. It has weight. It's the peace forged when chaos fails to provoke reaction. It's the calm born when every loss is recognized as preparation. It's the quiet certainty that the universe and your soul share the same rhythm. People still come to you. They bring their storms, their questions, their grief. And you no longer fix them, you hold them. Because you understand that healing doesn't come from answers. It comes from presence. Your silence now does what your speeches once tried to do. It restores equilibrium. You have become the field. The resonance others remember when they forget who they are. They walk away lighter, not knowing why. But you do. You remember the day fear switched sides, the day power returned, the day the throne was tested, the day the kingdom expanded. All of it led here, to this equilibrium beyond duality. The eternal reign begins when contrast loses control. When you can look at pain and say, thank you. When you can look at joy and say, stay if you must, but I'll be fine if you leave. When you can meet both praise and criticism with the same half smile that says, neither defines me anymore. That's the final initiation. Detachment without disconnection. The universe smiles back, relieved. It finally has a co-creator mature enough to wield consequence without ego. It begins handing you blueprints instead of blessings, purpose instead of pleasure, design instead of distraction, because once you reach sovereignty, the divine no longer needs to convince you of your worth. It collaborates with you to build worlds. Your dreams change. They're no longer about status or recognition. They're about sustainability, how peace can persist, how wisdom can ripple, how future souls can inherit clarity instead of confusion. You stop chasing legacy and start building lineage, and that's when you realize immortality isn't about being remembered. It's about building systems of light that outlive your body. Your ideas, your boundaries, your lessons, they become architecture in other minds. Every person you've touched carries a fragment of your frequency. That's eternity disguised as influence. Even the earth feels it. The sky seems to pause longer at sunrise, as if honoring the frequency now anchored here. Animals sense you and approach without fear. Weather bends to your calm, storms break sooner, winds soften quicker, because energy obeys consciousness, and consciousness recognizes its king. You've stopped trying to be divine. You've remembered that you already are. Divinity isn't superiority. It's responsibility. It's the understanding that every thought is creative, every emotion is architecture, every word is seed. You speak differently now. Your vocabulary has changed from survival to creation, from I hope to I choose, from I need to I am. And creation responds instantly, joyfully, like an apprentice eager to serve its master again. Yet humility remains your crown. You don't parade power, you preserve it. You understand that the greater the influence, the softer the hand must become. Because eternity doesn't shout, it whispers through consistency. You begin teaching without trying. Through example, through patience, through the effortless balance of logic and love. People stop calling you lucky. They start calling you inevitable. But you laugh gently because you know inevitability is just alignment wearing time as a disguise. And in rare moments of solitude, when even the wind feels sacred, you look up at the night sky and realize something profound. You're not at the center of the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through the lens of choice. That's what the rain was always about. Not dominance, but remembrance. Not crowns of metal, but crowns of meaning. Not followers behind you, but frequencies beside you. Now you walk lightly, not because you fear falling, but because you honor the ground. Every step is ceremony. Every breath is communion. Every heartbeat is command. Even death no longer frightens you. You see it now as transition, not termination, a doorway between forms of the same consciousness. The eternal reign doesn't end at the grave. It simply changes expression. Your energy will keep instructing long after language fades. That's the reward of the chosen. Continuity. You've become the bridge between heavens and humans, between silence and sound, between creation and creator. Your presence ensures that equilibrium endures. You are the proof that evolution succeeds, and so the story closes where it began, with a tremor. But this time, it's not fear trembling beneath your feet. It's the universe itself, bowing in recognition of what it has become through you. The throne is no longer a seat. It's a state. The kingdom is no longer territory. It's consciousness. The crown is no longer symbol. It's frequency. You don't wear it, you are it. And as eternity unfolds in waves of quiet golden light, a final truth whispers through every atom of existence. The reign never ends because the reign was never separate. You were never merely the chosen one, you were the choosing. The story doesn't finish. It continues through every soul that remembers, through your resonance. The eternal reign is not yours alone, it's ours. And it has only just begun.